Evening, Louis.
Hello, Chris.
Hi, how are you? You good?
Yes,
I'm just going to ask Charles. He's come a long way. He wants to have a quick talk, so I'll let him have a quick word with us.
okay, no problem.
Hi, Charles. You can unmute yourself, I think.
Yes, I'm here.
How are you doing, Charles?
I'm doing fine there.
Okay, you've come a long way from Michigan, man.
Yeah, and I've come a long way when we previously were doing all this against the liquidators that want to steal everything. I mean, what is a liquidator to begin with?
Yeah.
And I had to go back to the Emmett Township 5 times to have notarizations done. And now we've got the final paperwork in, I believe. And my question, though, is power of attorney. And my question is my power of attorney related to you guys?
I don't know who you issued your original power of attorney to, but if you have a copy of that, you can send it in to us, and we'll have a look at it, and then we can advise as far as that is concerned. But I think the main thing, Charles, for everybody's interest is we have to almost like vote for one person or one or two people to act on our behalf, and those people need to be working in the interests of the investors.
Yeah, and these guys out there that have basically given up. I'm telling you, don't do this. Don't ever give up. No. I have been at this kind of stuff for a while now because I got ripped off on other issues. But I mean, the world is corrupt. And when I think about the liquidators, I got a real problem with those people, and they should not even be liquidators. I'm talking about the people that want to steal our money.
Yeah, no, Charles, we absolutely agree with you. And it's terribly sad that we've got so many people that have actually sort of just lain down to take it. When it's such a simple process for us just all to band together. They don't really need to do much more than support us, and then it will happen. And that's what we're trying to do. It's actually sad in that sense.
Yeah, I see that. I see it, and I've seen it elsewhere when we was going against Ronald Flynn. Nobody wanted to do anything.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? You can't.
And they lost a lot of money.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not as if we don't have some recourse to law and that we aren't protected by the law. That's why these liquidators have to go to court to try to get this declared as a Ponzi scheme. If they don't manage to get it declared as a Ponzi scheme, if we don't do anything, they'll get it declared as a Ponzi scheme. And that's
my question is, how is it that they can say that when we simply came in on an opportunity, MTI Club? That's who we were. We were not in the administration and all the crap that was going on there that we didn't know.
No, but that's why the law protects you, Charles. But you have to stand up and say. If you don't stand up and say, this is not right, then you don't have a chance. I mean, if only one guy goes to court, the guy that goes to court wins the case most of the time. And if we don't get up there and say, no, this is not true, then we don't have a chance. And that's what we're trying to tell everybody. Guys, we can win this eventually, but we have to do something about it. If we do nothing, nothing will happen, and we will just lose it.
Yeah, numbers are everything.
No, absolutely. Listen, really appreciated the chat to you. What's the weather like out your way, Charles?
Say again?
What's the weather like out your way? The weather?
It's cold. We just don't get the winters like we used to get. It's all changed since 2000. Really? After a real bad one, we've had a few of them, but the snow does not stay long. It's not like a typical winter I knew in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Yeah. Anyway, Charles, thank you. Lovely speaking to you as well. Okay, and thanks for your support. Really appreciate it. And if you've got any queries, just drop them in there. We are trying to get through the hundreds of emails that we've got. And we will get back to you. I think the main thing now is we're mapping a way forward for everybody. Today, just to bring you up to speed as well, we've submitted a letter to the liquidators to ask them to delay the second meeting of the creditors, because at the moment that second meeting of the creditor is actually not worth anything because of the pending court case coming up in March. Only after that will you really know whether you are a creditor or not. And that's the truth of it. But in the meantime, we have time to get together to sort things out. We have got the time to sort this out, but we have to get this sorted out before March. That's the important thing. Really, really, the critical watershed date on this whole issue. Thank you, Charles. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so John Hayden, I'm going to allow you. Oh, I love your picture. That's really nice. Yes, John.
Can you hear me, Chris?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, first of all, thanks for all you're doing.
It's a pleasure. We have to be successful.
Right. Could I go back and talk about some of the Zoom calls that were on in 2020?
Yeah, you can ask about them. I don't want to spend too much time on it because we're...
No, I won't hold you to anything.
All right.
You lavished praise on Christopher Roos. Now, is he one of the liquidators that done us in?
No, Christopher Riz is the guy who's actually trying to keep it all together for the investors. And honestly, he's doing everything he can, but he's having a lot of problems at the moment with the way the liquidators are going about things.
And how about Herman?
No, we're not very comfortable at the moment with what's going on there at the moment.
And what happened to Zen?
Zen passed away, unfortunately.
Oh,
Zen
God.
was very much on our side. And, I was working with him for a very long time. And he was, that was a bull with lots of fire. Really, I can do nothing but praise the man for the way he went about trying to get things sorted. He really worked his guts out.
Yes,
But
and he talked a lot of sense as well. Like, I had great respect for him. So he would have been on one of his cards. I'm very sorry to hear he passed away.
Yeah. No, he got hit by the COVID, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Anything else there, John?
No, not really. I'm very confused about what the liquidators are doing, and I wonder, could you expand on it a bit?
Yeah, what I'll do, I'll just give a brief outline. We've covered quite a lot of this in our previous seminars, and at the moment we're busy editing, and it's taking longer than it should take, but we will get them out over the next couple of days. The situation we're in at the moment is the actual liquidators have not recognized any creditors. The only creditor they've actually recognized as a creditor is the receiver of revenue, and how that has come about, we don't know, and we don't have any details on that. But I put the challenge out yesterday, and I'll do it again tonight because I really would like to know if I'm wrong. Last night I put the challenge out: has anybody got anything back from the liquidators which says that they are recognized as a creditor? And I can't believe that the way everyone's been working to try to get the right documents to these liquidators, that there is actually nobody that has been recognized as a creditor. So not a single investor has been recognized as a creditor. And I don't think anybody can put up their name and say to us, look, we've now been recognized as a creditor. So it doesn't exist. So what we believe is that they're setting this up to make it a Ponzi scheme. And our approach to it is that it wasn't. But obviously the only person who can really say which way this will go is the court itself. And if we all as investors sit back and say, yes, it was a Ponzi scheme, you can have our money, then that's what we'll end up with. But if we all say, no, it wasn't, we invested legitimately in a trading organization, what they did behind the scenes is not what we supported, then that's a different situation, and the courts have to judge us according to that. So I could ask Advocate Hendrik van Staden, he's here, maybe just to elaborate a little bit on that as well for us, John.
Right, thank you very much, Chris.
Okay, Advocate van Staden, would you like to come on and just elaborate on that?
Good evening, everyone. Okay, the first thing is, if I understand it right, is that elaborate with regards to the fact that the Ponzi application.
Yeah, the Ponzi application.
Okay, the Ponzi application will be heard in March, and the court will determine if indeed MTI was a Ponzi scheme. But the information that's currently available shows to the contrary that it was not a Ponzi scheme per se. And that's why you've got various groupings that's opposing the Ponzi application, because it appears that a narrative is being driven that it was a Ponzi scheme. And we had people before that said, and I'm not going to mention the name of the people, but some of them said he or she wants to make sure that MTI falls and it's declared a Ponzi scheme. So there's people with their own reasons why they want to have it declared a Ponzi scheme. And as I said earlier, I'm not happy with the prayers that the liquidators are asking for in their notice of motion, as it is based, according to my belief, on the application for CREOM, which is not necessary in this case. The liquidators do have the necessary power to get people who benefited unduly, once it is proven, to bring back, should there be more claims than the assets that's currently in the estate of MTI. It must be noted that since none of the creditors have been recognized yet, except the South African Revenue Service, it's still debatable if indeed MTI is insolvent. So that's some of the questions that need to be answered. And since Johan Steinberg has been found, he will be very crucial in giving information of what really transpired and what went on. If there was trading, and if there was trading, was there a loss? Because then it was still a legitimate loss that was made, or was it a Ponzi scheme? And as I said, there's a lot of doubt why it must be declared a Ponzi scheme. One of the reasons is if it's a Ponzi scheme, then the number of funds would not have been recovered, and especially the Bitcoin that was given to the liquidators. If it was a Ponzi scheme, that would have been very doubtful. And it must also be taken into account that MTI was liquidated because it was just and equitable to do so, not because they've been declared insolvent. Chris, if I can also address something else.
I just want to, sorry, Advocate. I just want to ask John if that's helped him at all, and if there's another question, John, and then I'd like to excuse you if that's all right.
That's fine, Chris. No, I'm happy with Hendrik's explanation.
All right.
I was just confused about, like, in the first couple of Zoom calls last week, you were talking about you weren't basically trusting the liquidators. I was just wondering, was Christopher Roos included in that? Because I sent all my documentation both to Christopher Roos and Herman in January of 2021, like we were all instructed on these Zoom calls.
Yeah.
But yet they're not recognizing us as creditors.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we're not saying anything about withdrawing those things, but what we are looking at, which is something that all the investors can make a decision on, is to move a power of attorney onto Hendrik and Ian Ellis, so that we can follow up on those things, and that we have a power of attorney to act on behalf of your people. It's just like setting up a lawyer to act on your behalf, and that's what we're trying to do. And then as this thing develops, we will call for the documents that are needed. So at the moment, the thing is, we have to administer this whole thing. So we have to find a way to administer a class action. You know how class action works in the US as well. So it's a class action we're trying to put together so that the actual costs for the individuals is minimized as much as we possibly can.
Right. Okay. And we will get a form to give power of attorney to Hendrik?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we'll submit that. All the people who sign up on our subscription, which is £1 to start with, and then £2.50 per month. I mean, the worst case scenario, it's going to cost you £3.50, because we'll know after the court case where we are and what has to happen after that. So these are sort of things that we are looking at. But it's you're putting out a bit of money so that we can do the administration and consolidate all of this under one roof. I think the way I see it is basically we've set out a procedure which is on our website for people as well, so they can exactly see how that's going to work. And the beauty about it is we have a really, really good record keeping system in the background to keep track of what's going on for each of the individuals. John,
right.
Is that all right?
Thanks very much, Chris.
All right. Thank you for your time and your effort, John. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, Hendrik, you have the floor.
Okay. Chris, I'll just confirm, have you put up documentation for members to submit claims?
No, we haven't done it just yet. We haven't had time today. I'm sorry. We were dealing with that document for the request for the extension of time that we've put out. Okay. Maybe you'd like to just explain why why I did that, or why I had to do that. We were dealing with that, but all of that is going to happen tomorrow. We've put out a procedure as well. I don't think you've had time to go through the actual procedure. So there is a full explanation procedure on the website. Andrew?
Chris, if I can maybe suggest that we can, especially the questions that have been asked, there's a lot of questions pouring in. Tonight we can just discuss and give some clarity with regards to some of the questions that people have. And there's again, I know some of it has already been addressed in some of the Zoom meetings. They keep on popping again. And we have to, if I can start addressing that, would it be fine with you?
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to be sure that we address maybe at the end talk about what was put on the actual agenda as well, and just give an explanation to everybody about the points there that we've got on the agenda. I think that is really, really important at this stage of the game. But you're welcome to go ahead with the questions at this stage. That's fine. Yeah.
Firstly, there's people asking a question that I've previously registered with their email address on a previous grouping, and now they're unable to register on GetaQuid. Is it an admin problem, or how will it be addressed?
No, there's no blockage on the actual direct portal itself. I don't know why that is a problem. If they can just send us a screenshot of what they're experiencing, we can have a look at that. But there's nothing there that I'm aware of. The only thing that is problematic is if people on the bulk mailer, with the bulk mailer that we use, if they've actually unsubscribed on that can be a problem, because then they won't receive any documentation because they unsubscribed from a previous time, because we have a blacklist that we can't send to, or we don't send to, because we've got the people that have unsubscribed. But if that seems to be a problem, you can let us know, and we will search see if there is some blockage that is creating that problem. If somebody has something like that, they can just send us a screenshot and we'll have a look at what the problem is.
Okay, then there's another question with regards to just clarity again, who's who in the Zoom. And let's give clarity in that regard. Firstly, you've got the liquidators that's appointed by the Master of the High Court. It's Mr. Herman Bester from Tigerberg Trust, Mr. Siobhan Cooper, Rian van Rooyen, Christopher Roos, and then Jacqueline Barnard, and there's one more, but I can't recall out of my head now. They are the liquidators who's responsible for winding up the estate of MTI, and they're the ones actually bringing the Ponzi application. Then you've got Mr. Henry Selzer, who's representing the Marxes, and I know Mr. Clayton Marx, who is a shareholder of MTI. So that's one grouping. I know they also got their own Telegram channel. Then you've got a group called RAC, Recovery Action Group, which strives to only put out correct information. And they are actually supported by net losers and net winners, the RAC community channel on Telegram. However, in court, Mr. Bokkie Dievenage is representing Mr. Henry Hannibal, and they are mostly working for net winners in MTI, and they are also opposing the Ponzi application. Then you get the Justice Action Group of Mr. Cecil Rowe, supported by Elna de Jager, and they are also opposing the Ponzi application, but they are encouraging people not to put in claims, as they do believe that the business model of MTI operated that you had your own wallet with MTI and you deposited your Bitcoin in your own wallet. So they are opposing that. And then you've got Anton Lee, who's being supported now by GetaQuid, who's also opposing the Ponzi application, because the view is that there's sufficient power for the liquidators to wind up the estate. And it is, as I indicated earlier, very red lights glaring that none of the actual investors has been acknowledged yet as creditors. But it's also a big but. And I can see that on the MTI claims, or MTI data leaks group, which is run by someone who's supporting the liquidators, it was said that there's a challenge with regards to the data of the server that was originally collected to the claim process that you could have done via the internet, and now they've changed the data, which is very concerning, because if it's like that, it adds up to our earlier discussion that we question the data integrity of the server that's in possession of the liquidators. But I haven't seen anything officially from Invest Trust, and as MTI data leaks seems to be a Telegram group that leaks documentation, and also then we'd rather wait for official response by the liquidators. But as you all know, also Anton is encouraging everyone to put in claims, not necessarily through the web link, but through the completion of claim forms, and also by giving the necessary support documentation to verify your claim and have it submitted to the liquidators. Chris, are you happy with that answer?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I think maybe I just elaborate a little bit further so people can understand our position and our structure. So what we have is we have a GetaQuid as a registered company in the United Kingdom, and it's registered as a charity. It's not a registered charity as such, but it's registered in the same structure as a charity, and that means it is not allowed to make profits. So it is going to collect funds for this action, and those funds are going to be managed by the directors appointed by the various people who will be appointed to the directorship of GetaQuid. Those funds will be used for the administration purposes, to maintain the databases and to get people to help people file their claims, get their claims submitted, and all the administration that's necessary to make that happen. That is what GetaQuid's function is the financing of the work that has to be done to make our team successful. That money also is going to be given to the solicitors and advocates like Henrik and Ian Ellis, and to make representation on your behalf and look after your claims. So they will become the legal management portion and legally manage your claims through the system. So that's the whole process. In the meantime, right now, the first thing we need your assistance with is to empower them to be able to represent you at the creditors meeting if it happens. And secondly, to empower them to actually to have the ability to represent you in court to stand against the declaration of this becoming a Ponzi scheme, so that can be argued effectively and efficiently. And they're already in that process, but they do need resources, and we all need resources to be able to do that. So that's what this is all about. So that's what GetaQuid's function is. The administration, COGS administration, the administration which we provide from Global Village Worker as well, is just purely work. But that all those accounts are managed through the GetaQuid system and will be managed by the board of GetaQuid. So it has to stand up the forensics of any accounting system to be that there are no profits in that system. If at the end we get to the end and there is an excess, we will ask the members, what do you want us to do with this excess? And then we'll either give it to a charity or we'll just reimburse it back to the members. So there's no profit can be held within the GetaQuid thing, and nobody can really, as on the GetaQuid side, make a bunch of money. It doesn't work like that, and it's not legally allowed. Okay, so that's what the whole process is. But those entities that work on the system, on doing the administration, the website, all the work that goes into sending out the emails and all the rest of those sort of things, all of that has to be administered from a central point, and the distribution of the funds need to be managed from a central point, and that's what GetaQuid's function is at this stage of the game. Okay, is that clear? Is that correct? You got any ideas there, Hendrik?
It's excellently answered. Then here's another question from Vincent Alford, who said he submitted his power of attorney to me in December 2021. Vincent, it's very important, firstly, that you only give me a power of attorney once you've completed the claim form as well, because it doesn't help to give me a power of attorney, but you have not completed the claim form. So that's why it's very important that a process that will be published also by Chris, and it's also published on the Liquidators website, is followed to ensure compliance. I will just ask, Anton will ask everyone to give me power of attorney to just confirm and check what was the emails that came through and which ones have not received confirmation. I can tell you there was thousands of emails that came through with my power of attorney, and Anton could not reply to all of them. And that's why it's very important that the ones we do have, we'll check on the name list. Once the liquidators decide which of the submitted claims they will acknowledge.
Okay, but you've had no acknowledgement from the liquidators up until now. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct, Chris. We're all waiting as all claims have been rejected up till now.
Okay. All right.
Then here's a question from Oliver Hartley with regards to the RAG group. Firstly, RAG does not exist anymore, not at all. It's GetaQuid, and then you get RAG. RAG is posting verified information on a Telegram group, and what I put out there, as I said, is usually correct. And the same would be with GetaQuid. And also, they said that we asked if all previous meetings available will be on a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That Chris needs to answer.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in the process. I was hoping to get the first of those out this evening, but it's going to take us a little bit of time. But we will systematically make all the previous discussions we had available on YouTube. Absolutely, and we'll be putting on more as well about submissions and what needs to be done and things like that. There is a process. We published a process today. Was one of the things we worked on and published today. So the whole process on how this thing will work has been published. What we've got to interface that with now is the necessary documents and upload all the documents that are required in that process, which will come through on the membership, and that will be given out to all the members. That's the next stage that's going to happen now.
Then there's also one question asking which company can you trust. It depends on what your beliefs and how you perceive how MTI was. Then you can decide which grouping to support or how you're going to work with regards to your claim. Then also Corey Boulderbeer, you asked a question with regards to step-to-step. We've mentioned it earlier, but as Chris indicated, you will be making available, if everything goes well tomorrow, step-by-step what you can do and how it must be done, as well as all the supporting documentation that will be needed to submit a successful claim. Then Shark Westerman have asked, website of the uploaded documents are not accepted, and after log out and log out in again, the docs disappeared, so it was not saved. Claim form, how about red text commissioner of claims to sign a secondary? Shark, we're not 100% sure if you are which email website you are referring to. If you are referring to the one of the liquidators, I would suggest you can try to upload again if you want to go with them, or you can go through one of the groups, such as GetaQuid or Justice Group, to submit claims. So if you don't get joy, you can phone the liquidators and ask them, or you can submit through GetaQuid your claim. Then with regards to a commissioner of oath, about red tax, you said you signed a secondary. yes, it's always good to ensure that Commissioner of Oath is signed, all documents that are submitted. Also, I'd just like to inform everyone else that those of you who submitted claims initially during December 2020 and January 2021. Now that went to determine which was the liquidator that had to be appointed based on the highest number of claims and the highest number of value. So if you have not submitted a claim form on the correct form that has been supplied by the liquidators and will also be available on the GetaQuid website, you are urged to complete it and submit it accordingly, just to ensure that indeed you've got a valid claim, because the claim forms that was supplied for support to the various liquidators are not 100% correct and not a right document to ensure that your claim can be forced with the liquidators.
I think just to reiterate something we had come up yesterday as well, Hendrik, how long have they got at the moment, and how long have they got to submit the claims? I think that's a really important question. People are all sitting around saying, well, how long have I got to get this sorted out? And from my interpretation, we need your support as soon as possible so we can act on your behalf at the first meeting of the creditors. Then we need your claim forms as quickly as possible thereafter at this after the second meeting of the creditors, so that we can make sure that your submission goes into the creditors. But obviously, there is the question of what happens in the March during the March trial, and I don't know if you want to just explain that a little bit more, Hendrik, and also maybe why we've requested this extension tomorrow, with the extension on the 4th of February.
Okay, Chris, I understand you guys have asked for a request to have the second meeting of creditors postponed, so after the declaration of a Ponzi scheme has been decided on by the High Court. And your view is that we need to get certainty before the process is continued with.
Correct.
So I totally respect your views, and yes, it's right for you to make a decision on what can be done. Then another question I've got here is that people submitted their claims to Henry in early December. Will we still have to resubmit the claim forms that will be posted on GetaQuid site shortly? Now, John, with regards to that, if the claim form confirms to the required requirements, which is more or less the same as was published, will be published on the GetaQuid website and was also published on Liquidator's website, then there's no need to. But if you filled in a document that's totally different and you don't use the same values as given on that documents, then I would suggest that it might be good that you do resubmit a claim to just ensure that it is recognized once the liquidators start recognizing claims being submitted to them. So it will be good to make sure it's done. Okay, and then it's people asking for give a link to the correct claim forms and address where to send the forms. There's a question by Ingo Bendu. Ingo, that will be done on the GetaQuid website tomorrow. The addresses will be made available where original documents can be sent as well. That is including in Britain, in London. I'm sure they're still waiting for address in the USA. And from there, the documents will then be sent to South Africa, and it will be forwarded to the liquidators in a controlled fashion, so that it can be made sure that your claim is submitted correctly and your best interest can also be kept at heart. Okay.
But you have to choose who represents you. The person who represents you has power over your documents. And I'm going to be very adamant from GetaQuid's side. We cannot work with people's we will not be able to represent people if we don't have their documentation on file, because we need to have proper resources to be able to represent people. Otherwise, as far as I can see it, that can't work. Am I correct, Hendrik?
Sounds correct to me, 100%. Then there's just some clarity, because I've seen there's a question with regards to RAC that I haven't asked people to submit yet and things like that. Now, the recovery action group, as I understand it, is only there for information. They're publishing information on the Telegram group relating to MTI, but they are not taking claims themselves. Unlike the MTI Justice Group of Mr. Cecil Rowan, Elna de Jager, and GetaQuid, which is a vehicle through which investors can submit claims to the liquidators, but with a controlled way, where you've got people that will be actually looking after your interests and making sure that everything is done in the correct manner and that your best interests are kept at heart. So RAC is not accepting claim forms on behalf of people, and they are an information-based group giving through information relating to MTI.
Okay, I just, Hendrik, I see Anton's got his hand up. Did you want to mention something, Anton?
Yes, please. Question that comes through a lot is for members that don't have screenshot or does not know what their deposits or withdrawals was, or doesn't have evidence to state their case. How do we deal with them? Because they can't fill in the claim form correctly with amounts.
Yeah, but somewhere along the line they should have an estimate of what was going in and out financially. And I think that this is something Advocate Hendrik van Staden can also answer, in as much there is information available on the back end. Am I correct, Advocate?
Okay, there's two ways one can do. Firstly, you can, if it's like that, and you don't have information, you can ask the liquidators for that information to verify what you have on their server. And you can even try to use that way to submit a claim with them online. However, as I also agree with Cecil Rondem, the data integrity of the server of the liquidators are questionable. That's why I said earlier, I see on the MTI data leak that is run by a whistleblower that they posted some info stating that they've now changed the data. So you can obtain information from them by completing your online claim form with them, but you can still then give the power of attorney to someone else. Don't give them a blank power of attorney. So yes, and you can still register either with GetaQuid, and you can still register with the MTI Justice Group as members. And as you give the power of attorney to them, then they will still be able to act in the best interest. But it's very important that if you submit a claim via the internet portal, because you don't have any information from what you've invested or withdrawn, that you take the necessary screenshots and you forward it if you want to go with GetaQuid, and you upload it on GetaQuid as well. Or if you decide to go with any other group that you, or your own attorney, that you supply them with that documentation. Chris, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think Jean-Pierre has actually given a really good answer here as well. You are going to have records of other systems which you've used to deposit and take funds. And what Advocate Hendrik van Staden has said is absolutely correct. So there is a lot of ways to get that information. And also remember, there is a massive email trail. You can always go back to the email, the people who host your emails. And if you've lost a login or something like that, the MTI, at least one thing MTI did do pretty well was send out emails. And I went back and I tracked back all my original emails by just typing in Mirror Trading International. And I actually was able to recover all the original emails which I received from them. And there's a lot of information in those emails as well. So I think there are a number of ways you can track this data if you really have to. So that is also something you can rely on. Yeah.
Okay, then there's a question from Mr. Pinar with regards to the completion of the documentation in Pretoria. As I said, it will be published on the GetaQuid website on how to submit a claim and through which process to go. So when it's published, it will answer your question. And if you need assistance, I'm sure GetaQuid will be able to assist if you want to go with them. Or if you want to go with your own attorney will also be able to assist. But as I said, GetaQuid is giving you a complete service. And as Chris explained, it's a non-profit organization. They're specifically for the members who invested in MTI. So I do think it will be good to make use of their services to ensure that everything that you do is correct. Then I see there's more questions with regards to people who've submitted their claims. Just make sure that the claims that you've submitted is on the same documents that will be posted on the website of GetaQuid. As I said, it's also available on the liquidators website. And also, just link to that. There's people that say, but the liquidators are stealing. No, there's no evidence that the liquidators are stealing. So it's not right to make any statements like that. But it's good to have someone looking after your interests and making sure that things in the liquidation process do go correctly as it's supposed to, and in your best interest, Chris.
Yeah, I think it's really important for everybody to understand what a power of attorney is and how the power of attorney works here. And I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand, and I will ask Advocate Hendrik or our solicitor Ian Ellis just to have a word here if I get this wrong. But the power of attorney empowers, if you've submitted your documentation and all the rest of that to the liquidators, and we've got copies and we know what's going on, we just get the information, and you appoint Advocate Hendrik van Staden or Ian Ellis to act on your behalf, they have the right to query what's going on with your claim and then to follow through with that claim of yours. And that's the best position you possibly can be in. Am I correct, Advocate Hendrik van Staden? Is that correct, Ian? Have I got it right?
Spot on, Chris. That's exactly what the power of attorney enables one, not just to help with the submission of the claim, but also with any querying in the event of a rejection of the claim or any other duties in regards with reviewing the claim internally.
Okay. And it also means that when there is a problem with that claim, they have to come back to the power of attorney who can understand what needs to be done to clarify that situation. And you have that legal protection and that legal support. And remember, this is what GetaQuid is doing. It's acting as that intermediary to make sure to help facilitate the solicitors and advocates who are going to be working on your behalf. That's really what this is about. Okay. I want to just ask Louis, Louis, do you want to just take people through the process? Do you want to share screen? Do I need to give you a share screen so you can do that?
Yeah, I'm going to have a little bit of a problem to find that document, so I'll be able to talk through the process as I know it very well.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Chris. I want to start by saying I see there's a lot of questions here. Why must we pay, and so on. And I can also say that I've got no vested interest in the MTI situation. As luckily or unluckily, I've never been an investor. But what I want to say here is I've been working quite close with Chris right from the start to get the GetaQuid initiative up and running. So there's been questions here, why should we pay, and other sites don't require you to pay and so on. But I just want all of us to think a bit logically. To get all of these things up and running, I can promise you it's been weeks and weeks of very, very hard work that has gone in here. To build websites, to have a pay system online, and to be able to get people on your side that's going to administer this process properly. Unfortunately, it costs money. So what Chris and them have done is they have gone from the principle to spread the cost as far as possible. So it's a simple question of numbers. If we get enough numbers that supports the initiative, it means everybody's going to pay less. And I don't know about you guys, but if I know that I'm paying a solicitor and I'm paying people to do a proper job, then at least I know what is their motivation of supporting me. If somebody comes to me and they say to me, you can do it for free, that's just me. I'm going to start wondering what's in it for them. Are they really looking after me, maybe as a small investor, or do they have alternative motives? Now, I'm not saying they have. I'm just saying to you, think for yourself. And if you go and look at the fees that GetaQuid has come up with here, you make the decision for yourself if you can get proper representation for less money than what you are going to pay here. So the process is very important. When we're talking about thousands and thousands of investors, the first thing I want you to remember is there's a lot of communication that's going to go to and fro, from the investor to the solicitors, again from the solicitors to the investors. And you can think for yourself that you must have a very, very good record keeping system, so that you are at all times on top of what has been submitted and what has not been submitted. And I believe, as I look here from the sidelines, I see that the typical thing that happens when you're working with large groups has happened maybe in the past. So there's been a lot of things submitted to and fro, and now you're sitting with people asking, but did you get my stuff? Where's my application in this whole process? Has it been accepted? So let's start with the process. GetaQuid is saying first and foremost, please go and register, not just on the GetaQuid site. The GetaQuid website, you will see there's a lot of information. If you go and look at what is the money for, how is it going to be used, who are the role players. So yes, make sure you get all the information on the website. And I believe, Chris, you guys have posted the website. I saw there was a question that www.GetaQuid does not exist. That's correct. It does not exist, but because I believe it's an HTTPS /website.com. Am I correct?
No, it goes through as www as well.
Okay.
I'm gonna just run it right now, but I mean it does exist. I mean, unless we manage to take it down in the meantime.
No, I just saw there was a question.
No, I've just done it. I just typed in www.getaquid.com and it's come up beautiful. No, yeah.
Okay, so the first step, people, and you'll see we have posted the process. The first step that we're going to ask you is please register and commit for at least the £1 sign up and the first month's payment. Depending on how much you've invested, it will be between £2.50 up to I think £6.37, depending on how large your investment is. Why do we ask this? Because the moment you have registered and have paid on the paying system, then your information will automatically draw through to the COX system. You have heard now a lot about the COX system. Now, the COX system is a record keeping system. It's a cloud-based record keeping system. So your information will automatically pull through to the COX system. Now, the next thing that will happen automatically, after you have registered and have paid that money, within a week or so, depending on how fast these things are now going to happen, you are going to receive a mail from the COX system. The COX system, that mail will give you a unique URL link that you are going to link on, and it will take you to your exclusive, unique profile page. It will display the information that we have got at the moment, and you will then see on that page what documentation needs to be submitted. And as you submit that documentation, in other words, let's say I'm just going to use an example, there's a power of attorney that's required. If you've got your power of attorney, you're going to click on the link that says power of attorney, you're going to upload it, and then the system will know that your power of attorney has been submitted. So let's say there's 10 documents that you need to submit in the next 2 or 3 months. If you have submitted the document, the next time you come back to your page, it won't ask you for that document again, because it would have recognized that you have submitted that document. At the same time, the solicitors will have direct access to all the profiles to be able to lay their hands quickly on the power of attorney. Now, I believe things like the power of attorney have to be submitted in original format, and I believe that is why Advocate Hendrik and so on have said that there will be certain addresses in the UK and all over where those documents will be sent, the original forms. So typically what would happen is you register, you'll be taken on the page, on the email that you receive, you'll get the URL link, you'll go to your profile, complete whatever is still needed, submit the documentation electronically, and then you can send the original document to the addresses that will be communicated to you. So please, if I'm wrong in that regard, Chris, you guys can just help me.
No, the main thing is to keep an accurate record of what you sent in as well. And then you can always, the admin people will actually line all the records up of what's going on there.
Yeah.
All right.
So you'll see now that the system, the COX system, is now going to make record keeping and retrievability of documentation extremely easy. And here's the other nice thing that's going to happen. After you have updated your profile and have started uploading documentation, even if you haven't uploaded everything, you will receive next instructions on downloading the COX app, and you will then be able to claim your profile. Now, don't worry too much about claiming your profile on the COX app at the moment, because you will receive a really very clear and easy instructions on how to claim your profile. Now, the reason for this is if you go and look at at all the other platforms, it's quite an open platform. So if you have to submit sensitive documentation and information, surely you want to know that that information and that documentation is secure, and only the right people can lay their hands on that documentation. And trust me on this now, they can never say again that your documentation has not been submitted, because there's proper record keeping on exactly what has been done and what has not been done. So that will then give you a secure portal where you can go to any time. You can go back to your secure portal and go and see your documentation. You can view your documentation, and you can make sure that everything has been submitted there. So we need you to register, because then the next steps fall in place. It will also become the main form of communication back to all the members, because you will receive like push-through notifications on the app. And whatever they need to the solicitors or whoever needs to communicate with you as an individual or as a group will be sent through on the app. So you'll see it's a secure communication with members only. And even you can communicate with relevant administrative and solicitor personnel through the app. And once again, everything is on record. You don't have to go and scroll through WhatsApps that has been sent to look for dates. It's an easy record-keeping system where at the touch of a button, the solicitor or whoever needs to see it will be able to see exactly what was the communication with you, what documentation is there, and even you yourself can monitor the process. So back to my opening statements. It costs money to do this. We can't run these things for free, but I think what Chris and them have tried to do is to spread the cost of this thing as thin as possible. And as I say, that the last instructions that you will get in the process is how to download the apps, and there will be short videos that will show you exactly how to operate the app, and that will become the main communication system. So I know that's what's also in the pipeline is, as this whole process develops on a continuous basis, the newest information, documentation, developments will be posted on the COGS app. And you will be able to access such information 24/7, 365 days of the year. At any time you can stay up to date to the newest and the most up-to-date information. So please, just to recap, it's very important to go and register, because through your registration you get a secure, a unique page that's going to be used to keep proper record. Is that more or less what you wanted me to talk about, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know if anybody on the panel has got any comments on that at the moment. Is that, if everybody's okay with that? If you've got something, you can just unmute yourself. Yolanda, have you unmuted yourself? You have something to say?
Yes, I just want to have clarity, or have that clarified for everyone. So yes, the COG system will help you to upload your claim and get that sorted and have all the information in one place, and also have get you or inform you of what the process is and what is happening. The other bit of registering on GetaQuid, I just need to have clarity on that. But in my conversations with Advocate van Staden, he said that he wanted to make representations on behalf of the investors at the creditors meeting, and I basically want to know if he can make presentations as well at the Ponzi, where the liquidator just wants to declare it a Ponzi scheme, because as I understand it, you can belong to various groups and various solicitors representing you, but if you do not have a unified, we are opposing this action because it would not be in the benefit of investors. If all the various groups do not support that one, it will go unopposed, and if nobody opposes something, it will be accepted as the liquidators presents it, and that is the reason why the GetaQuid had been formed to represent the investors, but that will only be effective if they join in mass, because there's strength in numbers. Do I have that right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's quite correct. I think one of the questions that's coming up here is I've got 6 people that I managed. It was my son, my daughter, and so on, and my granny, and my this, my that, and they can't go onto the internet and can't do this. Well, that's why we've created a sponsorship process as well, so that a singular person can actually represent the other people. But the starting point there is, if they're minors, we'll run that past the solicitors. You'll have to have a declaration as to an ID or something that they are minors, and therefore you are a parent representing them. And if they're your dad or your granddad or something like that, and they can't go onto the internet, you'll have to present a power of attorney, which they have physically signed and that you will say that you've been given the power of attorney to represent them. So we have to have a separate account for every account that there was on MTI. You can't have like a global account and this is now spread among so many accounts, and that's not going to work. Each account has to be separate. Otherwise, there's going to be all sorts of problems. So if you've got a child, you'll have to declare that's my child. I want to run my child through the system. I want to reclaim that money I put on my child's account, and that will be a separate account. And then we will have to have some declaration that that child is a minor, and I am the parent. I have to look after that child. Therefore, I am running that account. And that child will have an ID, will have a separate identification with MTI. If it's a granddad who's got failing eyes or ear problems or whatever, and he can't do it, then use them as the sibling can get a power of attorney, print out a power of attorney, and just go. I don't know, Hendrik, would you accept a power of attorney signed by an elderly person without it having been through a minister? Some thing. I don't know how you would deal with that. Ian, Hendrik, would you guys like to come in on that? Hendrik? Yeah. Sorry, we can't hear you at the moment. There's nothing there. There we are. Got it. No, it was for a moment.
Hi, Chris. Maybe I'll be able to assist on this one.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
If it's not properly commissioned, it's not properly verified. So it needs to be commissioned. It needs to be commissioned properly. If it is also, if there's also a power of attorney provided by somebody, by a son on behalf of a parent, then they need to provide their passport numbers and a letter of authority. So at least there's something that can be verified, and it's got to be properly signed and stamped in its original form for it to be, and with full details. So it's got to. So that's the only way. If there's somebody who invests now under curatorship, there needs to be a specific order from a court, or overseas they have magistrates or circuit courts. There has to be some sort of proof as to why you have authority to actually sign a power of attorney, and there needs to be additional documentation submitted submitted supporting that and confirming their authority to act. I can't just take a power of attorney by somebody who says, well, I'm signing on behalf of my dad, but can't provide me with a letter, can't provide me with a copy of a passport or an identity or social security card confirming that they are who they purport to be.
Okay. All right. So we obviously we'll get something drawn up which we can submit, which we can give to people and say, all right, look, this is what you have to do to get that submitted. We'll do something along those sort of lines. I think that would be the best way to do it. Guys, we're running out. We've run 5-6 minutes over the hour already. Yolanda, I'm going to, before we shut down, just give you a quick heads up if you've got anything else you want us to discuss at this stage. Yolanda?
Yes, I have. There's basically one question that pops up, and I've just answered that again. It is, why is the master allowing the liquidators to act this way? Another question similar vein. If the liquidators are not recognizing the creditors, why are the court/master not intervening? And basically what I have replied is, if they follow procedures, so if they go to court, there's procedures. The liquidators will raise a motion. If that is not opposed, then it will be accepted as fact. So I'm pretty sure the solicitors and attorney will put it in better words. But if it's not opposed, if somebody doesn't stand up and say, but the liquidators have it wrong, these are the facts, then what the liquidators propose it's unchallenged, so that will be accepted. So the only way to let the investor's voice be heard is if somebody actually represents them in court and tell the judge or the master what the situation is in terms of the investor's interest.
Yeah, I think that's very important. I think the other thing you have to also look at is the master is there as an adjudicator. He's not there to prejudge anybody. And in this case, to have it declared a Ponzi, this has to go before a judge. Am I correct in that assessment, Advocate Van Staden? Ian, I'm going to have to ask you guys just to comment on that.
Yeah. is the master's a referee. That's basically his position. They can't really intervene and remove liquidators or remove parties and place in new parties. All they could do is referee within the boundaries of their position. So if there's no claim, if the liquidator says there's no claims that have been approved, they've got to take it that there's no claims that have been approved. They don't go into investigation of an underlying transaction. They're there to act as a referee just to make sure that the rules are actually followed. So it's basically, if I can give a brief summary, it's like a soccer match. If the two teams get into a fight in the change room and somebody gets stabbed and the referee is on the field, if the teams rock up, all they can do is check out the game. They can't go into details of what happened behind in the change rooms. If that simplifies the explanation of the master.
Yeah, and if the one team is fielding 11 people and the other one is fielding 2 people, then obviously we know who's going to win, right? So. Yeah,
well, if they rock up with only 2 people, then they say, well, you can't play. So, but if both rock up with the same number, if both rock up, it's all fair on the field. What's going on behind the field and players getting bribed or stabbed, well, that's a different issue. That's not what they're there to do. That's not what the referee of the match is there to do.
Okay, thank you. That's
I think that simplifies the explanation of the master.
Yeah, no, that's very clear. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. I think the master is, in reality, the master sits back and waits for the reports from the liquidator. And if the liquidator is unopposed, that's the that's the representation he's going to go with. End of story. As long as it's legally within the bounds of the liquidator's empowerment, then I can't see it being challenged if it's not challenged. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to find a way to get this resolved so that it's in favor of the investors. Okay, Yolanda, anything else on the questions? Does that help?
Yes, it's very clear. So the master, he's like a referee. He's not the one who make judgments on who's right and who's wrong. He looks at the documents that has been represented that is legally correct. So that is one of the questions. There's a lot of questions on they've submitted claims previously, but that has been dealt with. I think from the questions that I have collected, that's more or less everything dealt with.
Hi, Chris, if I could just chip in here quickly. I see he's not talking yet. Just a question. Can the members in South Africa attend the court cases coming up?
I would ask Ian Ellis to answer that. I am not qualified to answer that at all.
Hi, Anton.
How are you?
Well, thanks.
Good.
There's nothing that...
It's just a question that I see coming up a lot.
Okay. The meeting of the creditors, which isn't a court case, they're entitled to attend at the master's office, but obviously that's why there's powers of attorney, so that you don't have 1 million people pitching up. So whether the master then allows you to actually sit in the meeting, that's something debatable, but that's up to that depends upon the nature of the forum. As far as it goes with the court case itself, it's a public forum. Anybody's allowed to. You don't even have to be a member. Any person from any man off the street can sit in at on any court proceeding, provided it's not one that's determined in camera, which is, for example, child abuse cases or certain criminal and family law cases. That's the only time. But this type of thing, people are allowed to attend, say, for example, the Ponzi scheme hearing.
I think, isn't it also a question of whether there's going to be enough space in this courtroom?
Chris, I'm not even going to debate that one. That's up to the security. If 1 million people flood in, security is going to toss you out. So I'm just saying it from the aspect of anybody's allowed to, because I know that could get very easily misconstrued, where I'm saying, well, you're not allowed to because of space, and someone takes it the wrong way. Yes, you are allowed to. Whether the security allows 1 million people in there so that they can sit and watch in the case and doesn't cordon it off, that's a completely different issue.
Okay. Right, now I just thought I'd make that clear that there might be constraints as far as the volume of the room is concerned.
There will be constraints.
Hendrik just sent me a message. He's struggling with his network, so I assume he won't be on further. Okay, all right. Ian, have you got any last words here?
No, I think I've said what I can say.
Okay, all right, everybody. We thank you very much, Louis. I haven't given you an opportunity. Have you got anything specific you'd like to comment on, Louis?
No, thank you. I think I've said what I needed to say.
All right, thank you, Louis. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, guys. Thank you very much, everybody that attended tonight, and also thank you very much for those that participated right at the beginning of the evening. It was really interesting speaking to people, and they've traveled so far. They really traveled far to attend tonight. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for your help and thank you for your support. All right. Okay. Okay, guys, thank you very much for the evening. Thank you, everybody. Good night.